This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's
Okay, welcome back to the AM show. Good to have you along on Radio Live 3 and online. We're coming up 22 minutes after 7. It's a good morning to you. If you're heading to work, take us with you on Radio Live. You text the word LISTEN to 3920 for your local frequency. Especially, you might have time to do that if you're sitting in the traffic at Whangaparoa Peninsula. The United States are anything but united after the controversial appointment of US Supreme Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh. It comes after accusations of sexual assault, bitter political infighting and vocal public protest. It really split America, didn't it? Really divided America. His appointment is a major win for US President Donald Trump, but has this done lasting damage? Is the win in the short term, and what happens long term? Joining us now is Otago University Professor of International Relations, Robert Patman. Robert, great to have you on the program. Your reaction, is America pulling itself apart?
Good morning, Duncan. I think this is. I think your distinction between the short term and the long term impact is important. This has been a very controversial period for the last 2 weeks, and there's no doubt about it that the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh has been greeted with outrage and dismay by many women and men in the United States. And his testimony to a Senate hearing was anything but measured and magnanimous. It was seen as partisan. And in fact, the American Bar Association, on the strength of his testimony, are now re-examining his position. So, and a former, now retired justice on the American Supreme Court has said that testimony disqualified Brett Kavanaugh from being on the US Supreme Court. So this is a really controversial thing. I think we have to wait and see how it plays out politically.
It looks like Trump's got his man there, but could it be that Kavanaugh actually is pushed off there or comes off there at some stage? I mean, is it possible?
Well, he's on there for life, actually, Duncan. But it is possible, given the disquiet within the legal fraternity in the United States, that his position could be re-examined. I don't think Mr. Trump comes out of this particularly well. He did have the option as soon as as soon as these allegations about sexual assault began to surface, not just against Professor Christine Blasey Ford, the person who testified before the Senate, but a number of unnamed women. He did have the option, as presidents have in the past, of withdrawing the nomination and nominating someone else. He didn't take that view, and he backed Brett Kavanaugh strongly. And in fact, he publicly mocked Professor Christine Blasey, who went through this ordeal of actually chronicling the sexual assaults against her, a painful thing. And it was, I think, grossly unfeeling and insensitive of the president to mock a person who had to go through that ordeal.
Yeah, it's what he does, though, isn't it? He does the old public humiliation well. I mean, that's one of his tricks. I wonder if he should have just frozen the appointment and said, right, let's have a proper inquiry into this and buy himself some time. Because it almost seemed like it was a challenge to him. And he thought, right, the more he was challenged, the more he was going to thumb this guy into this position.
Yes, I think there was a degree of one-upmanship here. He was determined to prevail and show who's boss. But I think this partisanship, he enabled a one-week inquiry by the FBI, which was, this won't satisfy anybody, least of all the FBI. The FBI produced a 1,000-page document and said, in the limited time and the parameters they were available to them, that Kavanaugh did not seem to have carried out the sexual assaults as alleged. But, most people, from an investigative point of view, said that, it was a bit of a farce. And it looks like, as you said earlier, or implies, that the president was determined to have his way on this.
So where does it leave America? I mean, it looks to me from where I sit pretty divided. And what does it mean for the upcoming elections, these midterm elections? Because it's full on now, isn't it?
It is. And one of the reasons it's become so controversial, Duncan, is because the Supreme Court has the final say on such sensitive issues as abortion and gun control. These are issues which don't just affect women, they affect men as well. So there's the potential for blowback here is considerable. I think what Mr. Trump has done by ramming this thing through, essentially, is that he will consolidate his support amongst what I call his base. But the more instrumental floating voters may be repelled by the events of the last week. So it's also, Mr. Trump may have actually inadvertently spurred a lot of people, many women, to get involved in politics and run for office.
And a good thing too.
So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, good on you, Robert. I appreciate your time on the program. Well said. We appreciate it. And of course, it's I think it's the anniversary of the Me Too movement as well. The upcoming anniversary of 1 year since the Me Too movement as well. Again, a little bit insensitive, perhaps, Mr. Trump. Anyway, just ahead, not that he would care. The 7:30 news. I'll tell you what you don't need to know today, and we get the inside word on changes to New Zealand's mental health system. All coming up next.
But if you close your eyes, does it all